Hey there, church. How we doing? Yeah, man, it's so good to see you guys today. Man, the band did such an amazing job. Can we give them a hand again, too? Man, they're so good. I love getting to serve with them every week, and it's awesome being able to have Brady here with us another summer. It feels strange to say Happy Memorial Day. I genuinely mean that because it's such a, really it's a somber thing to kind of remember. But I would like to just, in place of that, maybe just say to have a very grateful Memorial Day. And so if you have served at all here in the service, and you have given up time with your family and been away, I just want to say thank you this morning. So can we give them a hand, those of you who have served and still are serving? We're grateful and we're thankful for you. Hey, this whole last couple months here in Big Church, we have been going through the Sermon on the Mount, and that is been an amazing series, but since today is a family service, we're going to put the hold on that. Can we do that today, adults? Is that okay? Okay, cool. So here's what we're going to do today. We are actually going to do the BC Kids stuff today. All right, so kids, you're in here today. We're doing your lesson today. And guys, what have you been learning about all month? Do you remember? Commitment. Awesome. Who said that? Yeah, for the win. Love it. Hey, your commitment. What does it look like to be committed to God? And we are going to go through a story today where we're going to see a lady who had just an amazing amount of commitment to God. And Jesus, it's in Mark 12. So if you have your Bible, go ahead and open your Bible up to Mark 12. It's going to be at the end of the chapter. If you didn't bring your Bible today, shame. I kid. We are going to have the verses up on the screen for you, and we're going to have a lot of fun today. But I'm going to need help as we go through this story, and I'm going to need volunteers, and I'll call for you here in a second. I need one. I need a kid. I need a kid volunteer, and I kind of already picked him out. I told him he got voluntold. How about that? This first one. All right. So Edward, I need you, man. Everybody, give Edward a hand, please. Everybody give Edward a hand. All right, so you know what? We should do this up here. We're going to bring it up here. You stay there. I'm coming up here. All right, so there's our offering bucket. We're going to go in Mark chapter 12. And what you need to know so far about what's happened in the book of Mark, and especially in chapter 12, Jesus has just spent the entire chapter of Mark chapter 12 being grilled by people who want him arrested. The religious leaders, the people that were supposed to be the people most following Jesus weren't, and they weren't committed to him. They were committed to their own idea of what they thought Jesus should do, and so they spent all of Mark chapter 12 basically grilling Jesus, trying to get him to trip up and say something that would be illegal, okay? But then we get to this little story, and it's kind of in a weird spot. It's like this happens for like 40 verses. And then we get a 4-verse chunk where we're going to find our story today, and it starts in verse 41. And so we're going to read verse 41 first so that we can set up here. All right, it says, "And he sat down opposite the treasury and watched the people putting money into the offering box." So remember, he's gotten grilled for the last 40 verses, and now in verse 41, he needs a rest. All right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to relax. How many of you, after getting pestered over and over and over again, you need to rest? All right, parents? All right, kids, do you know anybody that just pesters you over and over and over again, and you just need a rest, right? Sometimes, well, Jesus, he needed a rest, and so he sits down opposite the treasury, and he watches the people putting money into the offering box. Many rich people put in large sums, okay? So we've got Edward, we're going to turn him into a rich guy, okay? So every rich guy needs a really cool hat, so go ahead and put on your hat. And then, yeah, he looks good, doesn't he? He looks good in that hat. There we go. And then I think rich people, they need fancy clothes. And so I've got this really fancy vest here, Edward, that we're going to put on you. Oh, man, doesn't he look fancy? Doesn't he look fancy? Let's give him a hand. All right. Now, here's the deal. Remember, it said they were bringing large sums of money to the offering. And here's the deal. Back then, when they brought their offering, they wanted to make a big deal out of it because they wanted everybody to know what they were bringing to the offering, okay? They wanted everybody to know just how awesome they were and how much money they were bringing. And so, Edward, I've got here for you, I've got your jug here, and it says, my big offering. If you can't see, my big offering. Everybody say, ooh. Everybody say, ah. Okay, so here, Edward, what I need you to do, man, I need you to take your big offering, and I need you to just make as much noise as possible as you put it in the offering box. Can you do that for me? All right, awesome. So let's, oh, yeah. I mean, that is noisy. Yep, go ahead and, well, I mean, here, let's try this. All right, let's try this. Can you do that for me? Yeah, we need the full effect. We need the full effect. Yeah. Everybody give him a round. Oh, yeah. Awesome job. All right, good job, Edward. All right, you're going to hang out here. Go stand over there. All right, good job. All right, I need another volunteer. This one, I need a bigger one, though. I need an adult. We need the adults in on the action here. We need the adults. All right, got an adult. I got an adult. All right, you right here. All right, awesome. All right, what's your name? Bob. Bob, everybody say hi, Bob. Bob Newhart Show. Okay, hi. All right, I've got a hat for him, too, okay? And this is a fancy hat. Totally cool. It's totally cool? All right, awesome. I'm glad you are. Here we go. All right, so there you go. That is fancy. And look, and I've got a fancy, like, I don't even know what you call this. What is this called? A shawl? Okay, there you go. I thought that's what it was, but then I was unsure. And then I got you a fancy purse because, you know, rich folks, they've got fancy purses. That is awesome. That is so good. Okay, so here's the deal. I got my other rich person, and you know, Edwards was it was a big offering, but this is a really big offering. Okay, so I need you to do the same thing for me, Bob. Can you just, you know, we want to make it a big deal, okay? We want this to be, you know, this is going to be the best offering ever. I mean, there we go. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Let's cheer him on. Everybody say, ooh. Everybody say, ah. Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. Let's see how it adds up. Oh, yeah. Fantastic. All right, let's give him another round of applause. That's great. Thank you. All right, you're going to stand there, too, for me. Okay, I've got one more bag. I need one more volunteer. Who have I got? I need somebody over here on this side of the room. I haven't gotten anybody over here on this side yet. All right, you sweetheart in the pink. All right, perfect. All right, what's your name? Isabella. Everybody say hi, Isabella. Okay. I'm kind of embarrassed. I am. I'm kind of embarrassed. This bag isn't like the other bags. Okay? This bag doesn't have fancy clothes. I know they got some fancy stuff, right? This bag isn't the fancy stuff. Okay? In fact, let's read verse 42. Let's read the next verse, okay? Let's see that one. And see, this one's going to be a different bag. And a poor widow came and put in 2 small copper coins, which make a penny. Okay, so that's all we've got. Okay, and so, I mean, I don't have any fancy stuff. This one's going to look like poor stuff. I mean, these are kind of just tattered. All right, are you okay with this? You good? Okay, so here, we'll put that on. Yeah, all right, and nobody say anything, okay? We're just nice and quiet. All right, and all we had was, I don't have any more jugs. This is all I got. I got 2 small copper coins. Can we take them and can we go? You think we can go give them? All right, come on, let's go up here. All right, remember, let's just, because nobody's really noticing. Nobody's watching. They made a big deal. Nobody's watching. You're just going to put them in there. Awesome. Hey, can we give her a round of applause anyway? Let's go. Awesome. Man, you guys did an amazing job. Let's give a hand for all of our volunteers. All right, sweet. I guess you can hang on to it if you want till the end of service, or you can go ahead and hand it back to me now. That's up to you. Thank you for being volunteers or voluntold, either one. All right. So here's the deal. We have this happen. And remember, we made a big deal out of the big offerings. We've got the big and the really big offering, and then we had the poor widow who just had the 2 small copper coins. Except there was somebody watching. Verse 43 says this. Verse 43 and verse 44 says this. All right. Anytime now. Here, I'll just grab my Bible. We'll just read it. Verse 43 and 44 say this. It says, and he called his disciples to him and said to them, now this is Jesus talking. So remember, we made a big deal. out of everybody with the big offerings, right? Nobody watched the poor widow except Jesus. And Jesus sees, and he says, and called his disciples to him and said to them, truly I say to you, this poor widow has put in more than all those who are contributing to the offering box. For they all contributed out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, has put in everything she had, all she had to live on. So Jesus was watching. And this one thing made such an impact on Jesus that he saw it, and he made it a point to bring all of his disciples with him and gather them in close. Like, look, I want you to watch this. I want you to see this right here. I want you to never forget it. He says, truly I say to you. And when Jesus says that, he's like, look, you've got to get this. Like, you've got to remember this, okay? So kids, I want to talk to you for a minute, okay? Adults, you don't get to check out completely, okay? But I want to talk to the kids, just the kids for a second, all right? And there's something very important I want you to see here. You've been learning about commitment to God and what commitment to God actually looks like, okay? Commitment to God is really easy when everything is going well. It's easy to stay committed to God. It's easy to say that I love God or that I trust God. But sometimes, kids, God is going to ask you to do very hard things. And it may not come now. It may come much later in life. But some of you as kids, you've already experienced really hard stuff. Some of you may know somebody who's gotten sick, or you might know somebody that's died. And so it was somebody close to you, and it really hurt. And God is asking you, even then, even when it hurts really bad, he's asking you to trust him. Or maybe you've been at school and there's been somebody who's just pestered you and picked on you, and it's just been miserable to be around that person. And God's asking you still to love that person. Well, it's really hard to be committed to God and to trust God when that happens, but God is still asking you, he's saying, please still stay committed to me. Please still trust me. All right? And God is going to ask you to do hard things for the rest of your life. Now, it's not all going to be hard, but there's going to be times where hard things come. And you've got to kind of decide now as a kid that I'm going to be committed and I'm going to trust God no matter what comes. Because the more that we can say that, the more that we can do that, now when things are going great, the easier it'll be when things get hard. Kids, I want to ask you a question. Do you think it was easy for the widow to give everything she had, or do you think it was pretty darn hard? It was pretty hard, right? Some of you kids, your parents don't let you say darn. I get it. That's my bad. That widow gave everything she had. I want you to think about it. All the money that your parents use to buy you groceries, to buy you breakfast and lunch and dinner, that widow gave everything that she had. Okay? I want you to think about that. Would that be easy to do, or would it be hard? It'd be hard. It'd be really hard. But that widow stayed committed to God, and she trusted God that God would provide for her. Okay? And that's what God is asking you to do. God is asking you to trust him even when it's hard. All right? Now, kiddos, can I talk to the adults for like 10 minutes? Can I do that? Yes? Yeah? Okay. Here's the deal. Adults, you've heard this story before, right? You've heard this story before. Okay. Most of the time when I've heard it, it's been like a giving message. It's been a message on tithing or sacrificial giving, and that is a part of the lesson of this story. It's not where I want to focus today. Okay, we are going to talk about money some, but we're not talking about it maybe the way you think. I want to ask you a question, adults. I want to ask you a question, and it's this. It's, where does your trust in God end? Where does your trust in God end? Like, what's that line in the sand that you have drawn that I will trust God all the way up until this thing, until God asks me for this, I'm in. But as soon as he asks for more than that, I'm out. Where's that line for you? And I don't think any of us, I don't know many of us, I don't know anybody really that would say they have a hard and fast line. In fact, most of the time, it's pretty gray. Most of the time, we realize after the fact that God crossed a line. Or we think God crossed the line. And we no longer trust him. And we realize, oh man, maybe I didn't trust God as much as I thought I did. Where's that line for you? Where does your trust in God end? And I want to kind of press in on some hypotheticals really for the next few minutes, okay? I want to press in on some of those, and then we'll move on from there. It's like, okay, so what if God asked you to give $100 to someone that you know who needs it right now? Like somebody has a need, it's about $100, you have it, and God is asking you to give it to them. Okay? For some of you, not a big deal at all. Some of you are already thinking like, yeah, absolutely, we'll give it. Just you say when, I'll write the check, I'll bring them cash, whatever they need. I got it, $100, I'm in. Some of you, $100, that's all you have until you get to payday next week. And you're going, I don't know if I can do that. All right? Okay, so let's just increase it $1,000 then. Because the amount of money isn't really the issue, I don't think. So let's say $1,000. God asked you right now, I want $1,000. This person needs it. You have it. I want you to give it to them. Do you trust God enough that you can give it? Maybe the answer changes. Maybe this changes the answer. What if God is asking you to give it, and you know good and well that person, that gift that you give them, it's going to meet the need, but you know good and well that these people haven't learned any budgeting lessons at all, and if something happens again in a month, they're going to be in the same boat. And maybe even more, let me press in on more, maybe you know good and well, like you're going to go to Colton's after service today, and you go to Colton's, and you're going to see that person in Colton's having steak and shrimp, and God is still asking you to give them that $1,000, even though you know maybe they don't deserve it. Can you still give it? Does it make it harder? All right. Okay, so let's get away from the monetary part. Let's get away from the monetary. Let's say somebody that you know has an issue come up and they need help, like they need assistance. They need you to give up your week's vacation to go help them and go help them make a repair in their home because you know actually how to do the repair. You know that they can't afford it or don't know how to do it. They're not going to have the help. You know how, you have the tools, you have the resources, you can help them do it. God asks you, hey, I want you to give up your vacation for this year. I need you to go help them. I need you to go be Jesus to them. Can you do it? Like, well, I've already made plans. We're going to Florida. We've got the place rented. We're going to Florida. We're going to go see Mickey Mouse. We're going to go wherever, right? Okay, can you give it up? And do you trust God with that? All right, let's go different. What if God asks for your personal health? What if God says, look, I need your health. I'm gonna take some of your health from you because through what you're going through, other people are going to see that you are still committed to me, and they're gonna want to know more about who I am and what I've done for them because of your witness. Like I'm gonna pull some of your physical health from you. And I want them to see you stay committed to me. Do you trust him? And I bet there's already like wheels turning, like thinking like, okay, well, how disabled would he make me? Right? It's natural. And I'm not trying to, this isn't guilt trip time. This isn't any of that. I want you to be thinking about this. Where does your trust in God end? Let's say God asked you to uproot your entire family. Leave a job that you were doing well at, you're excelling at. It pays for your lifestyle. You're having a fun, comfortable life. Everything that you've worked hard for, you've gotten there. Maybe you've made it to retirement, and you're like, everything that I have put everything in my life into, I've got it set, and God asked you to uproot all of it, and now you're going to go move, and I'm going to have you work at a nonprofit, or I'm going to go have you work at a church, or I'm going to have you go work at another company where there are people there who need Jesus. They need to hear the gospel, and I'm asking you to go there and go share the gospel with these people. Can you do it? Awesome. I mean, and then the next, what if God asks you to move to another country? What if God calls you to the mission field? Can you say yes? Can you leave everything, your support system, all that? You get the point. Where does our trust in God end? And I'm sure along as I'm kind of doing these hypotheticals, this is why I don't want to stay here the whole time. Like, as I'm going through all of these hypotheticals, I'm sure you got to a point where, okay, I understand that God could ask me to do any one of those things. I understand that God could do any of those things to me. I understand that as a possibility. But look, that's impossible. That's not going to happen. That's not where the trajectory of my life is going. That is not what God has asked me to do. Like, me and God have an agreement, okay? I've actually had people say that to me, like, me and God have an agreement. And I'm like, I think you just agreed not to listen to God. I think that's what you did. But, beside the point. but we all had that point in there where we were like, okay, yeah, I get that. Yes, it could happen, but that's impossible. It's not going to happen. Until the impossible happens. And God gave me this gift yesterday, and I'm telling you, it is a gift. And as I tell you this story about my sweet Jack, he is here in the room, and I want you to know I got his permission before I told you all of this, okay? But this I could not ask for something to better illustrate my point than what happened yesterday, okay? Yesterday, we have this worthless little dog named Rosie, okay? She's a Dachshund, and she's completely worthless, okay? But she's cute, so apparently that matters. I bought it, so it's my fault. Anyway, we have the worthless dog. Worthless dog chews on everything that's left at ground level. All right, she will find everything, she will chew it. And so my sweet little Jack, he loves Batman. And when I say loves Batman, I want you to think about something you love, and then I want you to amplify that times like 2. He loves Batman. He has tons of Batman toys that are at his house. He's got multiple Batman outfits. He loves Batman, okay? Rosie chewed 2 of his Batman toys, okay? Which parents, it doesn't matter if your kid has 80 of something. If they get the certain ones, it's game over, right? Okay, so Jack, he comes in bawling yesterday, just bawling. Rosie chewed my Joker. He chewed my, Batman toys, okay? We're like, buddy, I'm so sorry that happened. I'm so sorry that happened. In his mind, okay, I'm just gonna ask, well, can you get me another one? And we're like, Jack, that's not how it works, buddy. You got a birthday coming, you've got Christmas. Grandma's coming. Ask Grandma. She'll get you another Batman toy. All right, you just got to wait a week or so, And so I was working on something that day. Lacey was going to Tulsa with some of our other kids, and so I was working on our water heater, and I had to go to Lowe's. And I'm like, okay, buddy, I need you to go to Lowe's. And he's like, okay, well, we're going to a store, so that means I can go get Batman. So Dad, if there's a Batman toy there, can we get it? I'm like, dude, it's Lowe's. It's like hammers and nails, man. They sell tools. There's not going to be Batman there. Yeah, but what if? What if there's Batman there? Buddy, there's not, you need to get mentally prepared for the fact there is not going to be Batman toys there. Like, we're going to a boring store, all right? We are going to Lowe's. And he's like, yeah, but if they have one, can I get it? Buddy, it is impossible. You will not, I guarantee you will not find a Batman toy at Lowe's. 10 steps into Lowe's, people. 10 steps in. There's this little die-cast cars thing. Not 1, not 2, but 3 different Batmobiles at Lowe's. 3 of them. Guess who went home with the Batman toy? Guess who had to pony up $6 for being the worst guarantee ever, right? It was never going to happen. Lowe's doesn't have Batman stuff. It doesn't happen, but he found it. And guess what? I'm telling you, Jack told us 6 or 7 different times that day, I just can't get over how you said there wouldn't be any Batman toys, and there were. Mom gets home. That's the first thing he tells Mom. Mom, guess what? Guess what? There were Batman toys at Lowe's, and I got one. He was excited. He probably has it with him right now. I don't know. Point is, it was impossible. It was not going to happen. I'm telling you, I've never seen a Batman anything in Lowe's until yesterday. And maybe it was just so that we could illustrate this point. There are things that you don't think God is going to ask you to do, right? There's things all of us, we don't think God is going to ask us to do them until He does. Until He does. Like, He is going to ask us to do hard things. You've all been through hard things before. You've all had things come up that you weren't expecting. Maybe some of you have even had God just completely call you out of something you thought you were going to be in for the rest of your life. You all have had those moments, okay? All of us have had those moments along in our lives. Where does your trust in God run out? Where's your line? And here's why it's so important to ask that question now. Because if you're not in the middle of a hard time right now, if you're not in the middle of some life-changing thing right now, I guarantee you it's coming, and you need to be prepared for what your answer is going to be. Because it's easy to say, I am going to trust God with everything. I'm going to trust Him. I can do it until that hard thing comes. All right? And here's another thing, another little bit danger when we talk about this, okay, is so many times we expect God then, okay, God, I am in. I will do the hard thing. I will trust you, as long as you treat me like you did with Job. Okay, you remember that story, right? You remember the story of Job. Job is a very wealthy man, many kids, many livestock. Everything is going great in Job's life until God allows Satan to test him. And everything is taken from Job, right? He loses everything. He loses his kids. He loses his livestock. He loses all of his wealth. He is brought down to nothing. And to where his friends are saying, just leave God. Like, what did you do wrong? His wife's like, just leave God. Just don't stay committed to him. And yet Job stays committed to God. And then God at the end of the chapter of Job brings everything back to Job like tenfold more than he had before all this started. And all of us are kind of like, yeah, I could sign up for that. I could do temporary the frustration. I could do temporary pain. I could do temporary whatever you ask me to do, God, as long as I know that you are going to fulfill your end of the deal at the end of it, as long as I'm going to get what I deserve at the end of it, right? Except I want you to see what happens at the end of this chapter, okay? I want you to see what's at the end of chapter 12. Nothing. End of the story. The widow gives her 2 mites. Jesus makes sure that the disciples see it. And then that's the end of chapter 12. Chapter 13 says, and as he left the temple. So Jesus just leaves. Like, Jesus doesn't go to the widow. He doesn't come to the widow and say, hey, I saw your faith. It was an incredible amount of faith, and I want to reward you. When you get home, you're going to have buckets of money just waiting on you, okay? You are going to be blessed beyond your wildest imagination. You're never going to have to worry about a bill again. That's not what happens. The other thing, Jesus doesn't even go back into the offering and get the 2 mites and rush over back to the widow and say, hey, you need this more than I do. Your faith is amazing. Great job. Well done, good and faithful servant. Here's your 2 mites back. It was everything you had to live on. Here's it back. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that. That widow left with nothing. We've got to kind of wrap our heads around the idea. And I know it's hard because we just don't have any context for it. We can't see heaven. Quite frankly, it's not talked about a ton in the Bible. So it's like we don't have a lot of details. I think it would be easier if we did. I don't know. But we have to get our heads wrapped around the idea that our reward is not here. Our reward, what we are working toward, is not things here. It is not our wealth. It's not our comfortability. It's not the fun that we can have. It's not anything like that. Our hope lies in eternity with our Creator. And that's what we are working towards. And that might mean that life here gets uncomfortable. It might mean that God asks you to do something that is going to hurt. It's going to hurt you and your family. It's going to be painful. It's going to be an excruciating experience. I know an awful lot of you right now are going through some very hard things. And maybe if you're not going through a hard thing, you know a family that is. We've just kind of been, the Muskogee's just been weird lately, just with just the tragedy that has seemed to just hit this community lately. So it's like we all know someone who's getting touched by something very difficult. And we need to make up our minds right now that we will continue to trust God even when He asks us to do the super hard things. To do the things that require faith, to do the things that require us to just step out of our just comfortable lives and follow Him unashamed. Because there are people around you, and this is the why. And this is why we're so passionate about this at our church. Okay, that's why we're doing this whole VBS thing. We're not just wearing sweet t-shirts just so we can wear sweet t-shirts. We're trying to get you guys to take VBS, to take the gospel to the kids in your communities. We're asking you to do something uncomfortable so that people around you can hear the life-saving news of the gospel, because people you know are going to die and be separated from God forever in hell if they don't hear the gospel. And it's our job as the church to take it to them. And that looks different for all of us. God may never ask you to uproot your family and move to Africa. He might. God might not ever ask you to give $1,000 to your neighbor who's irresponsible with money, but He might. God may never take your physical health, but He might. We have to be willing to trust Him anyway and make that decision now that we're going to trust God no matter what and stay committed to Him. Bow our heads and pray. God, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lord, that when we fail, when we lose our faith, when we stop being committed to you, God, I thank you so much that you remain faithful and committed to us, Lord. Lord, I thank you that your gift of salvation is not conditional upon us and conditional upon how we perform. God, thank you for your faithfulness. Lord, help us, Lord, wherever that line is for us, wherever that line of trust ends for us, God, I pray that you would just take your foot and just erase that line in the sand, and that you would push us to just a greater sense of faith in you, a greater sense of trust in you, and a greater sense of commitment to you, God. We love you and we trust you with all things. And Lord, where we don't, increase our faith, increase our trust.